Welcome back to my next playthrough series. This time I'm going back to Gothic Horror. This is a deck building game. It can be competitive or cooperative. I like to play it competitively. There's some slight rule differences for cooperative. I may try a cooperative playthrough at some time in the future, but this one is going to be another competitive playthrough. I'm not going to go over the rules at all because I did that on my first playthrough. I went through all the cards and everything. What we do need to look at though is the level 1 monster that is out, our two player characters that are going to be going up against each other, and the center row. And there's a couple of new rules added with the supplement decks that you can get from Flying Frog Productions: Smuggler's Den, Curse of the Werewolf, and the Forgotten Island. So we'll be looking at those, and then we'll get into gameplay. So first, I'm going to zoom in on the center row, or the monster first actually, and then the center. And I hope this focuses well enough for you. We're going to look at the Hungry Dead, which is always available to defeat. It costs 1 combat, 1 spirit, and 1 cunning to take out. It's a common minion, and there's a fight ability, and it says destroy a card you have played this turn, or a card from one of the center line, except minions, cards with cards with global effects. We'll go over global effects here in a second. And this card can never be acquired, never be destroyed, and discarded anyway, so it's always available. Our level 1 monster looks very suspiciously like something from the Shadows of Brimstone. It's a slasher, and it's going to take 5 of any color card, cunning, spirit, or combat to defeat, plus it has a global effect, and it has a fight ability. So look at the fight ability. Roll the omen die. The slasher below requires that much extra combat to defeat. It has a global ability. Global abilities are basically things that are in effect for the entire game as long as they are in play. And this one is going to be in play from the slasher from below. It says global. Anytime a location enters the center line, roll the omen die. On the roll of a skull, add it to the shadows. Now the dice have 2 skulls on them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so there's a 33% chance that every time a location enters the center line, we're going to get a card to the shadows. And of course, if you get 10 cards in the shadows, both players lose and the villains win. All right, we're going to take a look at their starting center line next. Then we're going to take a look at our 2 characters. And this is pretty far away, but I'll just quickly tell you what this is all about. So we have Reverend Harding. He's an ally. He takes 2 spirit, 2 cunning to acquire. And it says when you acquire this card, also take a Dark Secret. Dark Secrets, as you know from my first playthrough, are not usually good things, and he's worth 3 spirit when he comes into your hand into play. Our minion here is a vampire, and he takes 6 combat, 1 spirit, 1 cunning to defeat, and he has a strike ability. When you play him in your hand, draw a random card from each other hero's discard pile. You may play all of those cards this turn, then return them to the player's discard pile. So you basically scoop a card out of your opponent's discard pile, you play it goes back to their discard pile. We have Smuggler's Den. It's a location. Now, the locations that start in the center don't apply to the global effect from Slasher below. It's just when you add a card to the center, so off the huge pile of cards here. That basically takes 2 combat, 2 spirit, 2 cunning to acquire. It remains in play, and it gives you 1 of any ability of the 3. We have a Succubus Minion Vampire. Lots of vampires coming out here. Takes 3 combat, 1 spirit to defeat, and it's worth 1 of anything when you play it. It also has a strike ability. Every other hero must discard the top card of their deck. That could be pretty nasty. Then we have an Old Axe costing 2 spirit to get. It can be used for either 1 combat or 1 spirit when it comes up. And lastly, we have the Poltergeist, 2 spirit to defeat this minion. Fight. Every hero must pass 1 card from hand to the hero on their left. So we have to swap cards when you fight the Poltergeist. It has an ongoing ability. When you acquire it, it comes up in your hand. Roll the omen die. Draw cards equal to the roll. If a skull is rolled, acquire a Dark Secret instead. And you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner of each card is victory points. Whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game is the best monster hunter. Speaking of that, let's take a look now at our 2 characters that we will be playing with. and then we're going to get into the first couple turns or so. Alright, so we're going to take a look at our two characters. We have Adriana of Zartha. She's a foreign traveler. Her starting deck is going to be 4 combat, 4 cunning, 3 spirit, 1 honor card. Her special ability is she has enhanced senses. She may spend up to 2 cards from hand to gain 1 of any attribute each toward defeating a minion or villain. So just towards fighting minions and villains, she can toss cards out of her hand and get what she needs. It's pretty cool. We'll be using the blue Omen die for her in this playthrough. And her competition is Isabella von Tuch, and she's a noblewoman. And her starting deck is 4 combat, 6 cunning, 2 spirit, no honor. She has no honor at all. Her ability is manipulation. You may discard any card from hand to block, which means you could ignore a strike or a fight effect. Pretty cool ability there. And she has wealth. All gear cards cost her 1 of any color less to acquire. So that's also a pretty good ability. They both have pretty neat starting abilities. And I think with that, I guess said, we are just going to get right into it. So how do we decide who goes first? Of course, we're going to roll the Omen dice. Whichever is higher is going to be the first player. If there's a tie, we just re-roll until someone gets a higher roll. So let's back the camera out and let's get this thing going. But of course, before I start, I should show you some other cards. These are the honor cards you get through effects in the game. You can purchase an upgraded card, a tactical strike, costing 3 of any of the skills to get a 2 combat, 3 of any skill to get 2 spirit, or 3 of any skill to get training. So these are upgrade cards you can purchase. These are the dark secret cards that can come up in your hand during things, and then of course when they appear in your hand you have shocking discoveries. And also I was going to show you the new rules that come with the back of Smuggler's Den, Curse of the Werewolf, Forgotten Island. And I didn't, so I'll show them to you right now. We have the Lost Journal pages. I'm not going to read through this. I'll let you look at it. Global effects I already mentioned. This basically explains how the Lost Journal pages work. So if you want to pause and read that, you can go ahead. It's basically a multiplier of Lost Journal pages at the end of the game. We have such a huge stack of cards, though we likely may not even see many of them. We have the Werewolf's Curse. It's kind of a secret similar to Dark Secrets. There's 8 copies. You put them aside. They come up through effects. And then we already know all about roaming from my last playthrough. And so that's, I guess, very quickly going to describe everything we need to know. And if you've watched my last playthrough, then you know what's going on. So now we're going to roll dice, and we're going to see who is going to be taking the first turn. All right, let's get to it. We have Adriana with the blue die, Isabella with the white. And roll them. She gets higher roll. A pair of 3s. Off to a good start. All right, roll them again. And this time we get a 1 for Adriana, and we get a 0 for Isabella. So Adriana is going to be taking the first turn. I'm going to come right back. I've already shuffled, drawn up their 6 cards. They have a 12 deck, starting deck, and you draw 6 cards per turn. So we'll come right back and have Adriana take her turn. All right, let's begin with Adriana. What does she have? She has strength of cunning. Cunning. Ooh, honor. That's a good one to have. Strength. Combat, cunning, and combat. Ooh, that's pretty good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and first have her play, of course, her honor card, which gives her 1 of any color, and you don't have to decide immediately. And she gets to draw a card, so that is going to help her out already. So she gets another combat. Ooh, okay, looks like she has almost all of her combats. So she's got basically 3 combat and 3 cunning in her hand and 1 color of any choice. So I think I know what we're going to do right away with her. It's not too big a deal. She's going to use her 3 combat. She's going to use this as a spirit. She's going to defeat the succubus, costing 3 combat, 1 spirit. Vampire minion. So this is going to give her 1 of any color. When she plays it, strike. Every other hero must discard the top card of their deck. Alright, so that's going to go into her discard pile. Because she gained it, we immediately replace the card in the center with an outlaw. Okay, it's a minion. Ooh, fight. Draw 2 cards. This happens after you defeat the minion. Strike. Every other hero must discard the top 2 cards of their deck. Wow, that is nasty. That is a nasty take that card. Okay, well, wow. I guess you are being an outlaw. So what Adriana has left is 3 cunning, which is not going to do her any good for the center line acquiring anything. But she is going to spend, you can spend 3 of any color to get an upgrade card. And I think she'll go ahead and get this costing 3. So she spent 3 cunning to get tactical strike. It will give her 2 combat at a later turn. So that is Adriana's first turn. Then she would of course be drawing up 6 new cards, but she only has 5. So I'm going to have to shuffle her discard pile. And I'll do that off screen. So that was the first turn for Adriana. Up next will be Isabella. Alright, up next we have Isabella. Yes, and I didn't use Adriana's ability, which was to discard up to 2 cards from hand to gain 1 of any color to defeat a minion or villain, because I wanted her to get an upgrade card. But that is her ability. Isabella's ability, all gear costs you 1 less of any color to acquire, so she could get the axe for just 1 spirit. So keep that in mind. She starts with a cunning, combat, cunning, a spirit, a cunning, and a spirit. And so, she could defeat the poltergeist for 2 spirit as well. She could also get Reverend Harding. Lots and lots of choices here. So I think what I'm going to do is shut the camera off, and I will do a bit of thinking and see what Isabella wants to do. Alright, I think I figured out what Isabella's going to do. She is going to spend 2 spirit. And with her 2 spirit, I know she could get the old axe for 1 spirit. She only has 2 in her hand. She's going to take the poltergeist. Let's take a look at that. So she pays the 2 spirit. And now we have to do the fight ability. Every hero must pass 1 card from hand to the hero on their left. So what's going to happen is Adriana's going to take a card, pass it over to Isabella, and Isabella is going to do the same thing. And it just so happens that what would make sense for Adriana to do would be to pass Isabella a cunning, and it also makes sense for Isabella to pass Adriana a cunning. So we're just going to swap cunnings, so nothing really happens if you kind of follow the logic there. So that's going to go into the discard pile for Isabella. She's not quite finished yet. She is going to take her 3 cunning, so 3 of any color, and she's going to get an upgrade card, and I think she is going to get Intuitive Hunch costing 3, so she paid 3 cunning. This is an upgrade card giving her 2 spirit at a later time. She has 1 fight left in her hand, which she cannot do anything with, and I immediately forgot to replace that card, which is supposed to be immediately replaced. Last shot. So this takes 3 fight to acquire. It's an event. So when you get this in your hand and you play it, it says you may destroy a card in your hand or discard pile. You may destroy last shot to roll the omen die and gain anything equal to that roll. So, alright, that's out there to be had if somebody wants to acquire it for 3. Again, she has 1 combat left. Won't be able to do anything. Sorry, I did that slightly out of order. Gotta remember the timing in this game is kind of crucial. And then Isabella gets 6 new cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for her next hand. Alright, I'm going to do 1 more turn of Adriana, 1 more turn of Isabella, and that'll be it for this episode for today. Alright, it is Adriana's turn to go, and let's take a look and see what she has for her 6 cards. She has Strength of Combat, Spirit, Cunning, Spirit, Combat. So, once again, I will have to scratch my head and come back and figure out what it is Adriana wants to do. Alright, well I think it's pretty obvious what she wants to do right off the bat. She's going to spend her 2 combat and defeat the outlaw, because now that the outlaw is defeated, we get to draw 2 cards. And this ability comes up when it's in your hand. Every other hero must discard the top 2 cards of the deck. So Adriana right now gets to draw 2 cards. So this, I might have to shut the camera off again to decide what to do. She gets the succubus, and she gets another cunning. So she's got 1, 2, 3 spirit, 2 cunning, and the succubus, which also has a strike ability. Every other hero must discard the top card of their deck. Alright, of course, we must immediately replace this card, so that may change things as well. Murder! Oh man. It's a mystery. Mysteries happen immediately upon drawing them. Draw the top card of the main deck and add it to the shadows. That's not good. So we get our first card in the shadows. Of course, we get 10 cards in the shadows, and both players lose the game. So I'm going to have to re-look at these and decide what to do. We'll be right back. Okay, I think I figured out what I want to do. We're going to take the 3 Strength of Spirit cards, so 3 of anything. We're going to upgrade to one of the Intuitive Hunch cards, giving us 2. So that'll give her an upgraded card. And then she's going to play 3, make this 3 Cunning, to go ahead and get another upgrade card. And let's not forget the strike ability. Every other hero must discard the top card of their deck. So let's do that first. Of course, Isabella doesn't have a deck, obviously, so I'm going to have to shuffle her discard pile, which I'm doing now. And then she will need to discard the top card of her deck, which is going to be a Strength of Spirit. So that gets discarded. All right, and 3, she's going to get an upgrade. She might as well get a Cunning upgrade, another +2. That's the end of Adriana's turn, and she'll drop 6 new cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and she just has 6, so that's all good. Up last for this episode, we will have Isabella take her turn, and then we're going to call it a day. All right, Isabella's got a pretty good hand. She's got 3 combat and 3 cunning. So what she's going to do first, she's going to spend her 3 combat, and she is going to get Last Shot. So this is an event card. When it comes up in her hand, she'll be able to, it says you may destroy a card in your hand or discard pile, and you also may destroy Last Shot to roll the Omen die to gain that much, whatever it's equal to. So that's the first thing she's going to do. And then she has, and then we have to replace the card immediately, which of course will be a minion Spectre, costing 3 to defeat. All right, not a big deal. And the next thing she's going to do is use 3 Cunning, and 3 of any color to get the Murder card. And this is going to be draw a card, and then you roll the Omen die. If you roll a Skull, you discard a card. Otherwise, you're going to get an extra card. And that quickly, of course, we have to replace the card with an ally, a Militia, costing 3 combat, worth 1. So we're going to discard all of Isabella's cards. She's going to draw up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards for her new hand, which will be in the next episode. So let me just refresh here, come right back and wrap up the episode. All right, so this is Dark Gothic with the Colonial Horror expansion and the 3 card expansions you can buy from the Flying Frog production website. No, I did not forget about the global effect of the slasher from below, which says anytime a location comes out. We didn't have any locations come out in this episode, so we didn't need to worry about that. So we have a couple of minions hanging around. We have 1 location to gear, a couple of allies, and the battle's on to see. We need to take out, of course, the 3 level 1, level 2, level 3 monster that's in there. Who will come out on top, Adriana or Isabella? I'm not sure. We're going to look at victory points at the end of the game. So thanks so much for watching along. Once again, this is Dark Gothic with the Colonial Horror expansion and the 3 card expansions thrown into the mix, which gives you this mountain of cards to play with. It's quite a fun deck builder, I think. And I hope I haven't messed anything up so far. So thanks so much for watching along. Thanks for your comments, your subscriptions, and likes. Please join me next time for the continuation of Dark Gothic.